Superchats.
We're living on a disk, floating through space, with a tiny sun.
Hey, I'm FTFE. Welcome back to the channel that curb stomps stupidity with the boot of knowledge. Apologies for the delay in getting started there. Jim had to sort a few things out, but we're all going now. First off, I would like to say I have been given the ability to offer you guys memberships, and I see I have a few members already. So I'd like to say thank you very much to the people who have decided to become my members. Michael Barrett, Earth is Seriously Flat, Jackalope Herdmaster, Fantarang, Bella Charge, and Jeff Roberts. You are the first people to become official members of the FTFE channel. If you guys would like to join and get to use the fancy new emojis, then there is a little join button down next to the subscribe button where you can choose to pledge me a certain amount a month and you get access to money off on my merch and everything, as well as new emojis to use in the live chat. The more members I get, the more emojis I can add. I've got space for one more at the moment, and I'll be getting the community to choose what that is. But anyway, tonight we're going to have a little chat about whether NASA and other space agencies are telling lies to everyone or not. With me, as always, I have my partner in crime, Team Skeptic. How are you doing this evening, sir? Literally forgot your name, bro, for a second there.
No, you didn't. You'll never fucking forget me. Never forget that.
How you doing?
Doing good. Like I said, last minute came up, so I won't be able to hang out as long as I thought I would, but I'll still be here for a good portion.
It's cool. We're not going to go for yeah, Team Skeptic's running from JM Truth. Probably not going to go for too long tonight because if you can hear, guys, I'm all choked up with the cold. So we'll go for about an hour, and then we'll shut down. A few more members coming in. Thank you very much, guys. We've got Carl Christofferson, we've got Chorus Husky, God's Auditor, and Fatal Gravity, all members of the Scrappers. Thank you very much, guys. It means the world to me that you want to support the channel. And returning to the channel, we have JM Truth. How the devil are you, sir?
I am doing. Is all I can say right
now. Production on the movie going well, I take it?
Oh, no. Production has stopped, and I've changed the name of the production. And, yeah, all kinds of drama going on.
So it's now called SALT, I believe. Is that right? The Straight and Level Truth.
Yep.
Cool.
Straight Level Truth, no curve in sight. I'm not going after Behind the Curve because I'm hoping to actually go to film festivals and actually do something with it. So,
fair enough. I mean, as a debunker, I'm still looking forward to it coming out so I can scrutinize it in my own very special way. And one thing I do appreciate about you at the moment, JM, is that you understand the ribbing and stuff that goes along with all this. So I'm sure you won't mind when it comes out and I have my way with it. And I'm sure Team will as well.
That sounds dirty.
Yeah, it was supposed to. Another two members there, Fatal Gravity and Odin Thero. Oh, and God's Auditor. Although I might have said that one already. I'm sorry. I'm on cough medicine. Anyway, JM, why do you not think that space travel is real?
Well, there's a lot of different reasons. The first one being that the transition from 14.7 pounds of pressure to 10 to the negative 17 torr, which is a positive number. Sorry. I can't help joking at that now.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good that you know that now.
is such a large transition that the physics behind actually making that work, NASA has not yet technologically hit that ability.
Sorry, so your issue is getting out of the atmosphere, getting out of the pressure that we have.
Well, not just getting out of the pressure we have. Once in the in the lesser pressure, the technology we have would not withstand that pressure.
And what do you base that on?
Well, there's a couple of videos that show NASA in its first trial phases creating a vacuum chamber, having somebody in a vacuum chamber with equipment on the supposed to withstand those pressures, and he passes right out, and it boils his tongue, and he admits all this.
Yeah, I know the one you're on about, and there was a leak in the hose. I mean, there's plenty of videos of people being in vacuum chambers and stuff being okay.
Well, there are more modern videos that do show that, but those are under scrutiny. There's a modern one that is done by the military, I believe, or at least we're led to believe that it's military, where there's a bottle of boiling water in the front and something else in the back, and the guy in there, and allegedly that is all pressurized. I don't buy it being pressurized.
I mean, even James May from Top Gear went into a vacuum chamber and everything, didn't he?
I saw that one.
So, is your contention that just spacesuits couldn't do it, or that?
Well, I mean, the first issue is the spacesuits. If we break down the suits, let's break down the suits they say went to space the first time. One of them has a piss zipper.
You're referring to the outer layer of it, right?
Yeah. See, the problem is this: if you've ever done an experiment in a gas chamber or a vacuum, a small science vacuum chamber, the ones made of plexiglass.
Sorry about that, guys. I don't know why my thing keeps crashing. Let me just get Team and JM back in. I do not know why my system keeps crashing lately. Honestly, it's very frustrating. And right, that's JM's. Let me get Team his link. see. There we go, just getting the guys back in. Honestly, don't know why it keeps doing that. I do apologise. Let me just get everything set back up on the screen. Okay, yeah. I can move over and be a bit smaller. Then we get team added. Oh, he's big and black. Oh my god, I just said that, didn't I? And JM. Moving my Patreon about. God, this is terrible. I do apologise, guys. Let me just get these up. My one's a bit big. Hey, James, sorry about that. My system crashed. It's done it a few times lately. I do not know why.
You need more RAM and power, probably.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's just being very annoying. Right. Team should join again in a sec. Right, where did we get to? We were talking about the
I don't know. I don't know when it crashed. So we were talking about spacesuits, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people actually. I can start over on the whole spacesuit breakdown.
Yeah. So you're saying that the spacesuit doesn't have it had zips and stuff that wouldn't have been.
Well, there's a couple of different issues. One is they had rubber boots back then. In the conditions that we're told that the space is so cold, that rubber would have never survived, first of all.
Are you sure it was just normal rubber? It wasn't something designed to... It doesn't
matter. What's the melting point? Does not matter. What is the melting point of rubber? Well,
there's many different types of rubber.
Okay, but none that can survive several thousand degrees.
Oh, you're on about how hot it is in space due to the radiation and stuff, right?
It gets hot and then it gets cold. So you're talking about in the sun, we're told it's X number of degrees in heat, and in the cold, it's X number of negative degrees cold. That is such an extreme. I don't know of any rubber or any polymer that would necessarily survive that drastic degree in change. Yes, we have rubbers that can survive, minimal degrees, not the excessive degrees that is. At least, none that I've seen.
I mean, there's kind of two issues. One is the way that heat is transferred in space, because obviously there's no medium for the heat to transfer. So,
Craig,
if you're on about like the temperature due to like the radiation and stuff, it's not actually the temperature that you would feel because of the way the heat is radiated.
Craig, the object itself is the medium.
What do you mean?
You realize that, right? Like this. Well, there's very little. Well, let's just say there's very little matter in space. However, when radiation hits that matter, it heats the matter up. The spacesuit itself is that matter.
Right. No, because the point is there's so few of these atoms in space that are transferring the energy.
It doesn't matter. There's the massive atoms are the spacesuit and astronaut himself. They are the massive atoms. When the radiation hits those
by mass, I mean the amount of radiation and stuff. So if you're talking about in the thermosphere and the temperatures they say it is, yes, the kinetic energy of the molecules is of that amount, but there isn't enough of the molecules to transfer that kinetic energy to another body.
Hold on. Does the radiation travel through the space or not? Yes or no?
There are types of radiation that do, yes.
Okay, all radiation does. All of it travels through the
if you're talking about the energy coming from the sun, but what I'm talking about is flat earthers say that the thermosphere is a certain temperature, right? Therefore, the ISS couldn't have survived the temperatures, etc., etc. But that's kind of wrong, because even though the molecules of air in the thermosphere have that amount of kinetic energy, there is so few of those molecules that there isn't much kinetic energy transfer.
NASA has said the thermosphere is whatever it is, 3 to 4,000 degrees, whatever it is. They couldn't measure that unless there was enough molecules to actually measure it.
No, that's incorrect. You can still measure the kinetic energy of individual molecules, but then if you don't have enough of those molecules to transfer the heat. But anyway, it's a little bit moot, because if you're talking about, for instance, the overboots on the NASA suits, they actually had a silicon sole. It wasn't rubber. The boots are made of a silicon sole, woven stainless steel upper.
Okay, no, all right. What temperature does silica melt at?
Again, that would be irrelevant, because there wouldn't be enough of the atoms in space to transfer that kinetic energy over. So even if the thermosphere is of that temperature,
you have to have an outside medium, outside the actual medium being heated up, because we're talking about the silica, not the atoms outside of the silica. The silica itself would be, if I take a laser and I shoot it at my hand, okay, my hand is the medium by which heats up. So the radiation going through space hits the silica and would transfer the heat to the silica.
Yes,
the silica heats up because it is the medium.
But if there's not many of those molecules in space to transfer that energy, then there is overall not going to be a rise in kinetic energy or thermal energy of the thing that's being heated up. For instance, if you think about the ISS in its orbit, right? During the time that it's in the sunlight, it's being bombarded with the radiation from the sun, so it is heating up. Although it reflects a hell of a lot of it, then it goes into the dark side of the Earth, where it's not getting heated up, and it radiates that energy back.
You just answered my question. So there's no difference between the space shuttle and an astronaut. It's still a medium in space. So the astronaut would still be taking on, and probably a lot, because it doesn't reflect anywhere near as much radiation as the space shuttle. So let's look at this logically. The medium, or the astronaut, would then heat up, would have to, because I
think you're getting the word medium incorrect. But when we talk about a medium, we mean the thing that the heat travels in, or the wave propagates in. For instance, on Earth, we hear sound.
No.
Wait. Let me explain. On Earth, we have sound. Okay, that sound we hear because the waves travel in the medium of the air. So the air is the medium that those waves travel in. So that's what we talk about when we say a medium. We don't mean the thing that's in the medium. The medium is the thing that is supposed to be allowing whatever to propagate. And
a medium just means the material by which a energy is transferred to. So so let's say the object, and for you, I guess the medium we'll call outer space, and the object. The object still takes on the radiation, right?
Yeah, but there's so little of the.
So why does the space shuttle take on so much energy, and the astronaut doesn't?
Well, it doesn't take on a
great deal. Reflects all the.
Yeah, I said that it takes on some energy, but it also is radiating a lot of that energy back into space. It is reflecting a lot of the energy.
Okay, that means it's hitting
silica. Silica isn't a medium that transfers heat very well, right? So it's not going to be affected by a medium that it's in a way. And the fact that the medium that it's in, if you're talking about the amount of molecules, the amount of that medium that it is in when it's in the thermosphere, for instance, there isn't enough of that medium to transfer the kinetic energy.
I don't think you understand how kinetic energy is transferred. If that's your answer,
I really team. Do you want to take that?
Because radiation either does or doesn't travel through space. If it does, the object by which that radiation hits then automatically would transfer that radiation. NASA's admitted. I mean, This is a basic.
I think you're getting mixed up between
understanding
like
of energy.
if you're talking about the thermosphere, they're talking about the temperature that the molecules of the
Well,
atmosphere.
no, forget the thermosphere. I'm just talking about space right now.
So you're on about the radiation coming from the sun, and I mean, right. So when
I mean, 'cause here's the other issue. If in fact, but based on what you're saying, Craig, there would be no radiation in space
no,
because there's no matter to transfer the radiation.
oh no. Radiation can propagate without a medium. But if you're talking about like the thermal energy coming from the sun, the amount that it's receiving, because it's such a small surface area, and the fact that the materials are designed as non heat transferring materials.
Craig,
I'm struggling to
all
explain it.
materials,
Right. Team, are you there?
all materials transfer heat.
Team, you there?
Just some,
Yeah, I just got here.
Right. Okay. I think I'm struggling to explain this to James. So James is saying that the material of the astronaut spacesuit would be constantly heating up because it's in space.
Why?
well, they've said that when the shuttle is in space, it heats up when it's in the sun, and it cools down when it's on the other side of the moon, and when it's not being hit by direct sunlight, it's a drastically cold temperature. So obviously there's some heat transfer. What I'm hearing you guys say now, or at least Fight say now, is that there's no medium to transfer, so it doesn't transfer, which you can't have it both ways. Either it does or doesn't transfer.
Well, okay, so so I think it's kind of both right a little bit. So the spacesuit is going to be designed to be mostly reflective. So that means that you're going to have energy coming in that's not going to actually heat up the suit. It's just going to be reflected back out as visible light.
Can you?
Some of that
Can you
energy
show
will be
me?
some of
Otherwise, you're making a speculation, team. Show me where the specs of the spacesuit say that.
Well, okay, yeah. I'm just walking into this. I didn't
Okay.
have that. on
No,
hand.
I get
I'm
it.
just saying, like
I know. I think we're hitting a critical bump in the road here because physics disagrees with you, Craig.
Physics really doesn't disagree with me.
And the physics NASA has already claimed is in space disagrees. They have to have a reflective material on the back side of that shuttle, and the front side of the shuttle is a reflective or protectant, whatever you want to call it. But the point is, if the radiation was not damaging, they wouldn't need to have that on the shuttle. So obviously, it's taking on radiation.
Hey,
Which
JM.
means the space also would take on radiation.
Well, right, okay, so there's a very important thing that you're missing here. Do you know that you can block like the majority of the radiation coming with like a piece of paper? Like alpha radiation, for instance, is nothing major. You can literally block most alpha radiation with a piece of paper.
But alpha radiation isn't the only thing in space.
No, you're correct, but
You have gamma, you have...
And
right?
these radiations aren't going to be interacting with the materials of the suit to heat them up because the materials are not designed to transfer heat. They're designed to do the opposite.
Wait, what?
So if you're talking about thermal energy that it's receiving, well, it's reflecting a lot of that invisible light because of the virtue of the color that it is, and it will be they're also the spacesuits are air conditioned. So that's going to be, offsetting a lot of it, thermal energy that is received and things like that. You do know that spacesuits are air conditioned, right?
I realize they allegedly have some air conditioning or some cooling system in it. Yes, I don't think it's air conditioning, but I do think it's a cooling system.
Pretty much is.
Again, okay.
I mean,
the point is, what is the temperature in the sun in space?
the temperature in the sun is irrelevant to the astronauts.
Really?
Yeah, because they're not in the sun.
Well, okay. What I mean, coming from the sun. Sorry, let's specify.
If you mean how much energy does the sun put out, it's 1.1 times 10 to the 7 kilojoules per centimeter or something. I can't remember the exact numbers, but the
And you're telling me
what you have to remember is that the amount of energy received will be a function of many things. One of those things will be the surface area of the astronaut suit, right? So if the astronaut suit isn't very big, which it's not, it's the size of a person, it's not going to be receiving the same amount of energy as the Earth would, right?
No, that is not how it works, Craig. That is not at all how heat transfer works. Think about it.
It's definitely to do with surface area and the amount of energy being received.
The Earth needs a multi-level of shields allegedly to project a lot of the radiation back into space that would kill us. That protection that's on the Earth is not in the spacesuit.
How far out do you think these astronauts have gone?
Well, they've gone at least to the moon, so they say.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I'm struggling to actually explain this in a proper way that can help you understand. I mean, the main thing is spacesuits are a controlled environment, right? So they have their own cooling systems, everything. So any thermal energy that's received can literally be counteracted, along with the fact that the materials of the spacesuits are designed to not conduct thermal energy.
Okay, other than the fact that you have been told that, what proof do you have that these spacesuits are even constructed in the manner that which they were told they're constructed to be able to do what they've been told that they allegedly have done?
Well, it's irrelevant what we've been told about the construction when we understand the basics of thermodynamics.
But clearly that's not necessarily the case.
I mean, I definitely understand thermodynamics, JM. It was a massive part of my degree.
Craig, but my point is, if you understand thermodynamics, I don't understand why you can't see the spacesuits that they've shown us are unable to.
You're speculating that, and I'm telling you that based on the material that is designed with, and the fact that they are a controlled
what material
environment.
Was it designed with?
Well, as I explained, the overshoe is silicon. A lot of it was latex.
Okay, latex has a hugely small melting point.
Yeah, but you're not going to get the... Right, thermal energy isn't transferred that way in space, and that's one of the things that I've been trying to explain to you.
Thermal energy is... Then there's no need for all this protection.
Well, of course there is, because there's not just thermal energy. Team,
so you're telling me that the Earth has all of this protection to protect from all of this thermal energy and radiation, but this stupid little spacesuit they wear doesn't take on heat? When NASA's own words admits that they
let me ask you something. But let me ask you something, Jam. Have you ever seen those thermal gloves that people wear where they're picking up like red hot metal with thermal gloves? It's not melting through their hands. So they do have abilities to protect from thermal heat fairly well. If they know what they're working with, then they can pretty much protect against most situations. In the spacesuit, there was different layers on the inside. It had a I want to say it was called like a integrated something. Hold on, I can look this up. Give me 1 second. Look it up. Okay, I found it. Integrated thermal micrometroid garment. Was covering the torso. Excuse me, the torso limb suit assembly. It protected against solar radiation and micrometeoroids. The layers from the inside were rubber-coated nylon, 5 layers of aluminum mylar, 4 layers of Dacron, 2 layers of aluminized Kapton, and a Teflon-coated beta
You realize mylar is just
filament
very,
cloth.
very thin aluminum type of material. It's
Well,
like
this
a
is
sheet of
aluminized mylar.
real thin, a very thin layer, actually, thinner than a piece of paper. And that's NASA's own word. Yeah. So my point is,
I mean that's fine. I'm not contesting that. I'm just saying those were that's what was inside of the.
So here's the bigger issue that I have. NASA needs, in order to create not even half of the vacuum of space, 10-foot steel reinforced concrete in order to keep out the atmosphere while they're doing these vacuum tests.
That's not true. The vacuum chamber you're talking about is actually designed with that thickness to shield from radiation and stuff, to see what in that way.
Craig, I have the actual specs on my computer.
Yeah, and I'm sure you do, but the purpose of the massive thick concrete walls wasn't to maintain the vacuum, because
that is not true. That is not true. The specs read, and I'm going to paraphrase. Otherwise, the walls would collapse if the steel reinforcement was not there. So obviously, the vacuum is an issue and was an issue for the concrete. It says it right there. It had to be steel reinforced. Otherwise, the walls would implode.
I'm just getting up the specs myself so that I can read them. Right. Because when I was doing research on the vacuum chamber, the reason it had the big thick walls was actually much more to do with radiation than it not being able to hold a vacuum, because actually creating a vacuum isn't an incredibly hard thing to do. Like, nuclear fusion reactor chambers are 10 to the negative 11 torr.
Why do you need a vacuum for nuclear? Wait.
You need a vacuum for fusion to happen properly. I'm just getting up the reason. Bear with me 1 second. But yeah, no. When I'm talking about vacuum chambers, like a nuclear fusion chamber, I can get a video to show you.
Vacuum pumping is required before starting a fusion reactor.
Yeah.
To eliminate all sources of organic molecules that would otherwise be broken up in the hot plasma. Vacuum pumping is also required. Okay, it's only required for the starting of fusion.
Yeah.
It does not say it has to maintain a vacuum.
No, but you can't start the fusion if
it
you
doesn't
don't have a
maintain
vacuum.
because the fusion takes place in water. Because all nuclear reactors are basically rods that are floating in water. Or I shouldn't say floating, that are submerged in water. So, and water's not a vacuum. So,
all right. So this is actually from the NASA Glenn Research Center. It says the vacuum chamber was designed and constructed to test both nuclear and non-nuclear space hardware in a simulated space environment. Although the facility was designed for testing nuclear hardware, only non-nuclear tests have been performed throughout its history. The vacuum chamber is surrounded by an equal volume concrete enclosure, which is typically reduced in pressure to 20 torr during chamber operations.
now it's 20 torr.
I'm just going through. This is actually on Glenn Center. The chamber provides an ultimate empty chamber vacuum capability of 4 times 10 to the negative 6 torr using a combination of roughing pumps and high vacuum equipment. And
so 10 to the negative 6 torr, is that what it said?
That's just one of the things it was saying. But yeah, it's basically saying that the system utilizes. Yeah, go on, team.
I'm looking at something coming from NASA as well, and it's from. It says world's largest vacuum chamber gets extreme makeover, and it says that the steel rods are in the walls so that it can support the 4 million pounds of concrete. And then it says also that the walls are 2 feet thick, because that I think. Let me give me 1 second so I can make sure I say this right.
2 feet thick or 12? Because it should say 12 feet. The specs I have say 12 feet. Between 10 and 12 feet, I think.
Okay, then we may be talking about different vacuum chambers, but I guess this one's also used in like sound stuff. So it was saying that which isn't possible with the vacuum, so they probably have it for multi-purposes, but it says that the vacuum chamber needs to be 2 feet thick so that it can handle the magnitude of the sound waves that they're creating. So.
Well, and sound can only be created in a.
But I could be looking at a different one. I could be looking at a different one.
But
this one is saying that this is saying that it's a vacuum chamber that only has walls that are 2 feet thick.
That's basic physics.
But
I didn't hear what you said.
I said sound doesn't travel in a vacuum.
Yeah, we know that. But they can use the chamber for testing of multiple things, I think is team's point there.
No. Yeah.
Right, just quickly, a couple more members have come in. Got David Keller and Adam Alderman. Thank you for becoming members. John Rapp, $5 Australian. Good day, Craig, JM, and everyone else. I'll have questions later. Raven Zero for $5. JM, then what the fuck are the O-ring on an engine block that hold pressure, burning oil, and friction all at once under average 4,000 RPM per second? Common Sense Criticism for $2. Look up glass vacuum on Amazon. JM is DFOTY 100%. Robert Gassman for $2. JM Truths remind me of Freddy Krueger. I'm not sure why. He doesn't have.
Yeah, I don't have a burnt face, but yeah.
And another new member. Thank you. Quit asking me to change my name, Team Skeptic. And another new member, Punchy. Thank you very much, guys. I do appreciate it. But yeah, so the chamber wasn't. It's not got the big thick concrete walls to be able to maintain the vacuum. The steel bars within it are there to like hold the weight of the concrete.
NASA has been saying that they needed I don't care what they've changed their doctrine to now. Okay, but
I mean, you know that you can actually have a look.
Their own scientists have admitted they need 10 feet concrete walls to keep out the atmosphere.
I mean, I'd need citation for that.
12 feet.
I would need citation for that.
Because the document I have, team, says 10 to 12 feet. So it obviously changes width at certain places.
Okay. Can you forward that document to me?
Yeah, and
Sure.
you do know that there's a way that you can actually look at what used to be on websites. So if NASA have changed something, then you can actually go and check.
Yeah, the time machine, whatever they call that.
Just archives and stuff, yeah.
Right.
But anyway, none of that actually means that space isn't real and that we can't get there. I mean, let me show you something that.
Well, you realize NASA has now admitted that the moon is within Earth's atmosphere.
Oh, JM, please no. Right.
Let's talk about that.
Wait.
Right. Let me.
Just telling you what they came out with.
What NASA said is that the atmosphere, or what we can consider the atmosphere, actually extends a lot further than we thought. They're not saying that it's in Earth's atmosphere, like we can go and breathe. There's oxygen and stuff there. Wait. There's a diffuse cloud of hydrogen that is out that far. They're not saying that it's literally in our atmosphere that we could stand on the moon and breathe. That's not what they meant.
No, Craig, I understand that. But I would question that there's actually a cloud of hydrogen out there either.
well, when they say a diffuse cloud of hydrogen, they mean like one atom of
One or
hydrogen
two molecules.
every very square mile or something. But all right,
Okay.
let me get up what I am. Where is it? Where is it? Right. So this is a video that Red's Rhetoric. Oh, come on. Oh, it's because it's not on the right screen. There we go.
Hey
So-
guys, listen. I want to go ahead and step away while we have a little brief moment because I need to. My son's dealing with some shit, man. I need to go be a good dad right now.
Go,
That's
go,
cool,
go be a
guys.
father. Go be a
I
dad.
need to take him.
Go be a
Yeah, I
dad.
need to go take.
Yeah.
I just need to. But so I want to say thank you to everybody out in the chat. Sorry that I can't stick around, guys. JM, thanks for coming on tonight. Fight, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
JM, I have something planned for you in the 2020. So I've emailed you, but I don't know that I'm emailing the right email or that you don't have me blocked. So if you could either unblock me
okay.
or check your email.
Yeah, I'll
or just
unblock-
email me.
I'll see
You
if I
got
can
my
block-
email too.
Okay.
Okay, because I have a serious question I'm trying to ask you about a video I'm covering for somebody else, and I think they parroted your production word for word. So I want to know first what the truth is
If it
before I
was
say what I
quoted
want to
right.
say.
Okay, all right.
You know what I'm saying?
All right, cool. All right. Yep.
All right.
Appreciate that.
Cool. All right.
All right,
everybody,
speak to the
y'all-
team.
y'all have a
Thanks
good
for
night.
coming, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, Craig. Later.
All right. Okay, Jim. All right. The reason that I'm showing you this is that this is
Oh, but you're not doing this from. Are you kidding me right now?
well.
You're gonna show me this?
Yeah. Well, this was actually filmed this month, dedicated to me. Actually, thank you, Reds.
Wait, this
Right.
this was filmed month?
Yeah, this was filmed this month, the 5th of December.
Okay. All right.
This is a resupply mission up to the ISS, right? And
Okay.
the reason I'm showing you this is because I want you to pay attention to the flame at the back of the rocket, right?
Okay.
That's it just as it's taking off, okay?
Okay.
But then look at it at this point.
Okay.
What do you see that's different in the flame between there and there?
Well, it would appear to be much more concentrated there.
Right.
than,
Yeah. So it's more concentrated. The flame is more concentrated when
Yeah,
it's
pressure-
when it's nearer the ground. But as
Correct.
it's gone up, it's
It-
not
yeah.
not so concentrated. What does
Yeah,
that indicate?
okay. Well, it could indicate a loss of pressure.
Right. And then
Right.
if you keep following it, it gets so
It
far
gets
up
bigger and bigger.
that
Yeah.
it's
That's
it,
because
it shows that
less
it's
and less
transferred.
air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which shows that there is obviously the gradient that we talk about, and it
Right,
gets
right.
it gets
I agree.
gets to a point like here when you can see it doing the boost back, where the exhaust coming out is so spread out that it shows there is literally no pressure pushing on it, which literally shows that that has transitioned into a vacuum. So you can say it's impossible all you like, but when we've got actual video of it happening,
That does not show that it's transitioned into a vacuum. That simply has showed that the pressure gradient exists.
yeah,
There's no video showing it going into a vacuum.
okay. And if the pressure gradient exists, then at what point does the pressure gradient stop?
Well, I would say at the barrier.
Why is there a barrier?
Because, again, in order to have a pressure, you have to have an enclosed container.
Okay.
This is
that-
where we disagree because you think it is a container, but there's no scientific experiment showing that.
I can show you one right now, if you bear with me. So, let me bring that over here. So, this is a homemade fusion reactor, all right? Doesn't quite go into fusion, but it does the same thing. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because inside there, it's a practical vacuum. It's about 10 to the negative 11 torr. But that glowing that you can see is an area of gas pressure inside that vacuum with no barrier between them. And that's done because there is a force being applied. Very clever electrical and mechanical forces, right? The way that this happens is called Z-pinch. And what happens is, as a current is run through the plasma, it pulls all the electrons together more and more. So the more current that's run through it, the more it pulls it together, the more pressure there is, and that's how they try and initiate fusion. But what it's showing is that you can actually have a contained area of gas pressure next to a vacuum without a physical barrier. All you need is a force of some kind, or something acting as a force. And of course, we know that within Newtonian physics, gravity acts as a force, which would allow us to maintain a gas pressure in a vacuum. This is just demonstrating that all you need is some kind of force to contain that pressure.
Right. That doesn't make sense, Craig.
What do you mean it doesn't make sense? There is no barrier between the gas pressure and the vacuum.
I understand that. Well, for one thing, it's a smaller container. So if you have, it's actually putting atmosphere into the vacuum. So it's not a true vacuum. And it's not,
yeah,
also not a vacuum. It's also not a vacuum like
let me get the right
10 to the negative 17 torr. But,
well, it's 10 to negative 11 torr, which is pretty damn low. Let me get up a much better one for you. I need to go into my email because I've been speaking with a couple of scientists.
How can you prove that 10 to the negative 11 torr? Does he show that? Does he reveal that?
Yeah, well, in that video, he shows you the entire system that he has that's actually doing that. Now, bear with me. I'm just trying to get you a much better video. Where has it gone?
Because that would seemingly defy the second law of thermodynamics.
Of course, it doesn't defy the second law of thermodynamics because you have something that is making a container, being a force. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to... I've been speaking with a scientist that actually works with these.
Okay, again, you're making a container be a force. That does not prove that gravity is a container.
Well, no, what it demonstrates is that you can have a area of gas pressure next to a vacuum without an actual... Oh, there it is, that's what I'm looking for. Without an actual barrier between them. All right, here we go. This is the one that I wanted.
So that defies all definitions of gas pressure.
But it doesn't, because there is something that is holding that container in place. That is holding that pressure. Right, okay.
It also could theoretically be electric. I'm just throwing that out.
So this is inside a... this chamber is 10 to the negative 11 torr, okay? Then they inject the plasma into it, and in this one, there's actually a nitrogen impurity in the plasma that makes it glow blue and allows you to see it a lot more. And now, as they increase the current going through the band around the outside, it pulls more and more of the gas, the plasma, into that band. And
what is your definition of plasma?
How do you define plasma? Is an ionized gas. And there we go. There we can see a very defined band of gas pressure, ionized gas, that is being held there purely by electrical and magnetic forces. And outside of that band, it is 10 to negative 11 torr. It has to be for this to actually happen. That's all part of the math behind it. I can give you the papers, because I've actually got scientific papers to back up just this video. Because like I said, I've been speaking with scientists that are actually working with nuclear fusion. And I'm not saying that this is analogous to the Earth. What I am saying is that this demonstrates that you don't need a physical barrier to have gas pressure next to a vacuum. All you need is a force that can act as the container. Yeah.
But that would actually be the force.
In this case, the force is the electrical and magnetic forces that are maintaining this band of ionized gas.
Okay.
And just, it's actually quite cool.
I can see that. I mean, for now, I'll concede that. If you would send me the documents, I'd be great. I'd love to look at them.
I've got a lot of the details that I've been doing a lot of reading on
that is
myself.
a cool effect,
just about now we can see the Z. There we go. That's called the Z pinch, where they actually get to the point where, boom, that's where fusion would occur if they could maintain it. but
Right.
we're not quite there yet. But that demonstrates that you can have gas pressure next to a vacuum without a physical barrier. Now, in the case of the Earth and the atmosphere, what is acting as that force is gravity.
Yeah, again, I would need to see an example of that.
Well, that is an example of that happening. And
No, that's
nuclear fusion is
of electricity being used as the force to maintain that electrical charge. Has nothing to do with gravity.
no.
If you're going to use,
I'm not saying that has anything to do with gravity, but that is demonstrating my point that you don't need a physical barrier to maintain the gas pressure. You just need a force. Now, in our model, that force is obviously gravity that is able to hold the atmosphere on, and the mass and everything backs that up.
right, but you'd have to, again, provide a scientific experiment that demonstrates that.
So you want me to provide a scientific experiment that demonstrates that gravity can hold the atmosphere to the Earth?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, the Cavendish experiment meets that criteria. Because the Cavendish experiment demonstrates that there is an attractive force between all masses, that we can calculate exactly what it is. And if there's an attractive force between masses, as we say there is, then the gravitational force is strong enough to hold the atmosphere to the Earth.
Unless gravity is an electrical and not...
We know it's not, though, because Coulomb's law doesn't work for gravitational acceleration.
Actually, well...
Because one major thing about Coulomb's law is that it describes an attractive and repulsive force. And there is certain materials, like lead, which is diamagnetic, where if we were saying the gravitational acceleration is caused by electromagnetic forces, then a diamagnetic material would act in the opposite direction to everything else, meaning that lead and salt water would all float.
What does diamagnetic mean to you?
Diamagnetic is basically, it means that something will be repelled by a north or south pole of a magnet.
So you're saying lead would repel a magnetic force?
Lead is diamagnetic. So lead would literally repel against a magnetic force.
That's funny, because I thought lead had very little magnetic charge at all, actually.
Well, it's diamagnetic. It doesn't have magnetic charge. It's diamagnetic, so it would actually repel if we were to say that there was an electromagnetic force that was causing the downward acceleration. And lead isn't the only diamagnetic material. There's a lot of them.
No, there's a lot of things that are... But...
And to say that it's electromagnetism that's causing the acceleration doesn't work, because we know that different materials have different reactions to electromagnetics, whereas everything is acted on equally if we talk about it being gravity, because gravity isn't material dependent, it's just relative to mass and distance. So my whole point about this is that when we say that we can go into the vacuum of space...
Lead is not, according to this, lead is not diamagnetic. It has no magnetic properties.
Lead is diamagnetic. Just Google, is lead diamagnetic? For a lump of lead is not magnetic, it is diamagnetic because it can interact slightly with magnetic fields. By moving a very strong magnet past a piece of lead can actually cause the lead to move away. But regardless of what the material is, if lead is diamagnetic, but that's not really the point that it's to do with lead. It's that there are diamagnetic materials that will repel against the magnetic field.
Of course there's diamagnetic materials. I'm not arguing that.
Which eliminates the possibility of gravity being a electromagnetic phenomenon.
Well, no, it does. So what you're saying is that it would be repelled off the Earth
Yes.
if, in fact, okay, unless the ground was, because you have a positive and negative. Lead does not repel both positive and negative charges.
Yeah, diamagnetic will repel off of a north or a south pole of a magnet. So it doesn't matter. It will repel against the magnetic field. Diamagnetic means it doesn't have unpaired electrons in its valence shell. So if you do, then it's unaffected by magnetic fields.
Polycarbon, mercury, silver, carbon, diamond, lead.
Tony UK points out something that I actually read about recently. There's a pure form of graphite that is extremely diamagnetic and that can actually float a magnet on it. It repels both poles.
Oh, that's cool.
But see, so my whole point around diamagnetism is that if gravity was an electromagnetic phenomenon, then it doesn't make sense, because no matter what the material is, there is a downward acceleration towards the Earth of 9.8 meters per second squared. But if electromagnetism was the cause, then different materials would have a different attractive force towards the Earth, and some materials, like diamagnetism, would actually repel away from the Earth.
Now, you keep using this speed of 9.8
9.81 meters per second squared. Yeah, that's just the downward acceleration that we experience all the time.
And you're saying that's a constant?
Yes. There are certain areas over the Earth where the gravitational pull is slightly different, but that's because of variations in the thickness of the Earth's crust. If you're standing on a mountain and things like that, the more mass there is, the more acceleration there will be. But there is an average acceleration around the world of 9.81 meters per second squared.
Let me make sure I understand what you're saying here. So if I drop a bowling ball, it will continue to accelerate until it hits the Earth at 9.8.
If you were in a vacuum, yes. Obviously, on Earth you have the atmosphere, which will cause a resistance. That's why when you jump out of an airplane, you will accelerate at 9.81 meters per second squared until you hit your terminal velocity, and that is that's about summation of forces. So
you understand about terminal velocity?
Yeah, terminal velocity is a function of your surface area, basically. So if you are falling through the atmosphere, then the surface area pushes against the air molecules, and once you reach a certain...
I get it.
So, but obviously, if you were in a vacuum, yes, you would keep accelerating at 9.81 meters per second squared.
Well, yeah, again, that's another... I would love to blow that whole thing out of the water, too. You would never, especially if gravity is a constant, which in a vacuum it is on Earth, which means that the mass of that material, if I can use that term loosely, so if I'm dropping we've all seen the video done by Brian Cox.
Yeah.
Of the feather and the hammer, they both drop the same rate. Problem is with that is that's an edited video.
Yeah, I mean, you guys always say that, but the Action Labs has actually done something similar.
I'll explain why. At the point at which the feather does not have the same amount of mass, it is still affected by your gravity. Therefore, the feather would never in a million years fall at the same rate as a hammer, because the mass is greater in a hammer than it would be in a feather.
No,
if it's both gravity.
What you're getting confused there is the fact that every molecule of that hammer and every molecule of that feather has the 9.81 meters per second squared acceleration acting on it. Okay, the hammer has more mass, so it will accelerate at 9.81 meters per second squared, but it will be heavy. It will be It will be heavier, meaning that as it hits the ground, there will be a greater force of newtons hitting the ground. But the acceleration still stays the same regardless of how much mass that object has.
Yeah, Craig, there's no scientific experiment you can show me that I'm aware of that can demonstrate that I would be comfortable with. I'm just telling you. I watched Brian's little thing, and I think that was all Hollywood. I really do.
Right, let me just screen share again 1 sec.
Desperate attempt by NASA to prove their doctrine.
This is a channel that I watch a lot called the Action Labs, and he has his own little vacuum chamber that he has created, and he replicates the experiment in a way that he can. So he's got the feather, and he's got a little metal cube, right? And as the cube releases, both the feather and the cube, let me play it from that point. They both. Now, obviously, the feather is tumbling, and there isn't a complete vacuum in there. That's the air. Where's the one with the vacuum? There we go. All right, here we go. Here's a good comparison of it with and without the air. All right. So with air on the right, without air on the left. You see the difference there? So obviously,
I'll watch it. Yeah,
with the air, the feather has resistance, but without air, the feather has no resistance and will accelerate towards the ground at the same rate as the metal cube. I'll just play it again so you can see.
That's it.
So what that shows is that feather, even the one on the right, it still has that downward acceleration of 9.81 meters per second squared acting on it. In the chamber on the right, there is also a force acting in the other direction, which is the air resistance. In the chamber on the left, that air resistance has been removed.
Yeah, I get how air resistance works, Craig.
So that demonstrates that, yes, everything has an equal acceleration. Obviously, if something has more mass, that means it will be heavier. But the acceleration will still be the same.
The problem that I have with that is it's such a small box that I would need to see that done on a much larger scale.
He built that himself. He built that vacuum chamber himself, and anyone can do it. So what you're saying is you won't accept NASA's because it's edited. You won't accept the Action Labs because it's not big enough. So you
no.
need...
What I'm saying is, I accept that was the outcome, but the variance in distance between point A and point B are so small that I can't make a judgment call based on a really small box. Correct?
Well, you could actually. The way that you could do it is by marking areas on that box, right? And see, you could do a function of time over distance. So you can see if you say at 2 seconds it's fallen this amount, but then at 4 seconds it's fallen even further, and you can see what the difference is, and then you can actually calculate the acceleration based on the distance between those markings. Just because it's a small...
I understand what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Assuming that the video, well, yeah, there's all kinds of issues, but it appears based on that video to be correct. But again,
yeah,
there are multiple variables there that I myself would have to look into. So, but the point is,
do you know what Newton's first law is?
Ask the guy with the shitty memory. I can't think of it off the top of my head, though.
It's referred to as the law of inertia, right? So an object in motion will remain in motion
Stays-
unless acted on
Right.
by an unbalanced force. And likewise, an object that
Well,
isn't
look at
moving
that.
will stay
An
still
outside
unless acted
force.
on by not an outside force. The important thing is an unbalanced force, right? So it has to be unbalanced to create an
Since when did
acceleration.
it change, dude?
Sorry?
Since when did it change?
No, it's always been that. It's just people never quote
No,
it
it has,
correctly.
no, it is not. Unless
JM,
acted on by
trust
an
me.
outside force.
No. Trust me. I even remember from high
Trust
school.
me. No.
It's
I trust
always
you.
been an object in motion or an object at rest will remain so unless acted on by an unbalanced force. And what it means by unbalanced is if you have something and you push it equally from the left and the right, then it's not going to move, right? Because in that case, you have a balanced force acting on both sides. But if you have an unbalanced force, i.e. one side pushing harder than the other, then it will move. That's why the word unbalanced is important in there.
It was never unbalanced. Through all of my years of school, it was outside force. I've done experiments based on that. I've done
What do you mean
research
by an
papers based
outside force?
a force outside. What is an outside force? An outside force is not force outside the object being active. I don't understand what.
Right. Yeah, but the unbalanced part is a major thing. That's like, honestly, a big part of Newton's first law, is that it has to be an unbalanced force to create an acceleration. All mass is inertial, and within a gravitational field, all mass is gravitational. So you have to have an unbalanced force to create that movement. In the case of acceleration on Earth, the unbalanced force is the downward acceleration of 9.81 meters per second squared, right?
This one says an object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion, the same speed and in the same direction unless acted on by an external force. That's an outside force. Outside force. So they've used the word unbalanced force.
I could honestly, I could go and get my physics books, and it would say it in it.
And this one actually says an outside force. This Newton's first law is an object at rest stays at rest, an object in motion stays unless acted on upon by an outside force. So it wasn't always.
Where are you looking that says outside? Because I mean, if you can say outside force, but it still has to be an unbalanced force. That's the important part.
Okay, then defining an unbalanced force is a force outside the object.
Right. So if we look at, I just typed in Newton's first law, and the first one that comes up is
Grizzly.com, Newton's first law of motion. You asked me where I got it. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
And then also Khan Academy, which my kids use. So khanacademy.org, external force. Quizlet, outside force.
Obviously, as you can see here, the first. I mean, you can say outside force, and I suppose that is correct, but it still has to be an unbalanced force, because that's the important thing about inertia. And what that law is that it's saying that
it unbalances the inertia of the object.
Yeah, and well, the inertia of the object isn't going to change unless there is an unbalanced force applied.
Which for sake of argument is just an external force or outside force.
Yeah, but again, unbalanced is the important thing. It can't be an equal force. It has to be a force with more on one side.
Okay, all right. It would never be an equal force because an equal force would not create any change.
Exactly. There you go. That is my point, and that is why the word unbalanced is used in Newton's first law.
Okay, but Newton's first law, unbalanced, is a new insertion.
I guarantee it's not, because I've always used that in every time I've done. I'm 30.
How old are you?
Wait, am I 36 or 37? I'm 36. Oh my
I'm
god, that's
45.
that's when you know you're getting old. You have to do it.
I'm,
But
yeah, I'm 45.
I spent
High school
I spent about 5
and
years of my
college,
life doing a
always
physics
been
degree.
outside. Okay, but I'm telling you that now again, you're from the opposite side of the pond. So all of my textbooks, I'm just telling you, all of my textbooks said an outside force. I never read unbalanced, which is why when you said it,
I think if
reaction
you
is
go
what
back to your physics books, that you would notice the word unbalanced.
Craig, I'm telling you what my fucking book said.
I
I do know.
JM, I believe that is your memory, but I'm telling you that if you went back to your physics books now and looked at what Newton's first law is, it would say the word unbalanced. That isn't a new thing. All of my life that I've done education, the unbalanced part has been a very important part of what we're talking about.
All right. Well, I'm just, not for the sake of argument, I'm just telling you, my memory is not the issue here. It's not. That law has been always or outside force, always.
I mean, I strongly disagree with you, and I would encourage you to look at.
You're from England. I'm not. Our textbooks are different than yours. That's for sure.
Could you share with me the link that showed that it said outside force?
Sure. It was Khan Academy. Let me go over here. In fact, I'll just look it up and give you the link for the whole thing. Copy. Where do you want me to post it? In the...
Yeah, just send it to me on in the Hangouts. Just while you're doing that, I'll just read a couple of super chats quickly. I think I've got all the members. Yeah, Punchy was the last one. Thank you very much. God's Auditor for $2. Does JM not believe in oven mitts? I think I should always do a oven mitt warning. Angel Grey, Gary for $2. Why does sound not travel in a vacuum, JM?
Oh my God! Have you never done a fucking vacuum sound?
I think they're just asking if you know or not.
It doesn't travel because there's no molecules and no matter for the sound to interact with.
There's no medium to propagate the wave.
Yeah.
Navy Tex 199. JM Truth is a joke. He's no Anthony Riley. Horsehead Pete for £2. JM spoof reminds me of Dick Rot. Oofed. Punchy for $2 Canadian. JM, is the sun going through fusion or fission?
Move on.
Do you know the sun's going through fusion or fission?
It's fusion.
Do you know the difference between fusion and fission?
I'd have to look, Greg.
Okay, I just wondered. Gently's channel. Gently, by the way, gold. What you did with Riley, the things you got him to say. Oh my God. The differential between 14.7 psi to 10 to negative 17 is less pressure than a wet fart, and it's minus 200 degrees C on the moon, as hot as pressing a nice suit. John Rapp for $5. JM, do you know the pressure range of space is 1 times 10 to the negative 6 to 1 times 10 to the negative 17 torr when it's above our Kármán line? Chrissy for $5. JM Truth, I see you, bro. Keep thinking, man. You're a logical guy. I can tell. You're getting there, bro. Shalom. Rocket Scientist for $5 Canadian. JM, STFU, Newton's first law has always been described as an unbalanced force. And he is actually a physics professor, I believe.
I don't give a shit. You're an idiot then, because it's not been unbalanced force.
Well,
if he's a professor, he should not be teaching.
That's the... I mean, either your memory's wrong or mine is, JM. Let's put it that way.
Well, or your textbook said one thing and mine said another. I mean, it's... Again, an unbalanced force technically is the same thing as an outside force.
Well, not necessarily, because an outside force can still be an equal force, right? If you have an outside force acting in all ways, then
no, because the force. No, because the minute you have any force pushing against an object in motion is an unbalanced or external force.
Well, yeah, but
You
my
can't
point is
force.
you can have an external force that isn't unbalanced. So if you had a force acting in all directions from outside at the same force, then that would be a balanced force. But if that force is only acting in one way, then it's an unbalanced force. But anyway, I honestly think that's where we're going to call it for tonight, guys, because I've not been very well myself, and I've got a few videos that I am working on, and I need to get some sleep. So I'd want to say thank you to you, JM, for coming on. I think me and team reckon that we can convert you to the globe. So we're gonna be bringing you back and try and get this on. And there is another professor, a physics professor, who is Professor Philip Bell, and he is actually part of the team that worked on the Indian moon lander. And he would very much like to talk to you about a few things. So
Okay.
he's
Good luck with that, mate.
he's part of a team that actually put something on the moon and is putting something back on the moon soon. So
Allegedly.
Allegedly, but you can go through that with him.
Allegedly.
NASA CGI group for
Well, you
$3. His memory was bad when
realize
asked about Newton. Sorry,
Just because he's a physicist doesn't mean he put anything on the moon.
well,
Doesn't
no,
mean he had anything to do with it.
the fact
Even
that
if
he's
he made
part
the
of that
object
team.
and allegedly would do that. Okay, all right.
I mean,
Yeah, we'll
his job specifically is actually to figure out what went wrong with the first moon lander, the Indian one that did a hard landing and crashed recently. And he's helping to figure out what happened, what went wrong, so that the next one can actually do a soft landing. But anyway,
They crashed on the moon.
yeah, the first one, they lost communications about 5 kilometers above the moon's surface, and it crashed. But yeah. I see Joey Rocha in the chat. Joey Rocha ran away from a debate with me on Simon Dan's channel. Joey Rocha is a coward and a cockroach. But anyway, JM, thank you very much for coming on tonight. I really do appreciate it. Guys, if you want to check out JM's channel, I think it's JM Truth Productions. Is that right?
Well, one's JM Truth Productions and the other is JM Truth Radio TV, which YouTube just gave me back all of my distance observations after Miss Lewis tried to copyright strike me. So
yes, there's still a lot going on between obviously you and Shelley, and I think we might actually get you back for another interview about that at some point as well. But
great, I've got a lot to update.
that is going to be all for me tonight, guys. I have a collaboration with Conspiracy Cats that is coming up soon. More Anthony Riley stupid. Remember to vote for Anthony Riley for Dumb Fuck of theAr. But for now, I'm going to go to bed because I'm poorly. And remember, stupidity is not a right. Fight the flat earth.
Fight the flat. 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 Fight the flat.
Craig, you still there?